Hi, Daniel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, me too. Me too. Very happy to be here with you today, starting this new project of mine. Thank you so much for accepting to participate or accepting
Thank you.
participating.
Accepting to participate.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for thinking about me.
Oh, how could I not? It's been a blast talking to you throughout like these years. I guess it's been 2 years now.
Yeah, I guess 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's been amazing.
Wow. Right.
I like the way you think about life. So yeah, so I should explain uh, how is this project, what is this project about? So
What this
basically,
project is about.
what
Sorry.
this project is about, no, please correct me as much as you can. I would like, yeah. So I will explain what this project is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about me watching a channel that I've been in love with since I discovered it back in 2017, discovered back in 2017. It's called actualize.org. I really love that channel, but the guy, Leo Gura, who creates the content, the videos, he creates very long videos and I don't find the motivation to watch them, or I'll start watching. So there are some videos that there are eight, no, how could I say this better? There are 6 hour long videos
Sure.
and I'll start watching, but then I'll need a break, but then I won't come back to it ever. Because I'll start watching something else and then so now I want to, and whenever I'm working with people, I'm more consistent. So the idea is that I'm going to be watching 33 hours of his content and talking uh, with you. So I'll be more motivated because I have this commitment and it's very
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah, so
For six
that's the
hours.
idea.
A 6 hour long video is a long video for anyone.
It is
It's
indeed.
understandable not to finish not being able to finish a 6 hour long video. It's forgivable.
Yeah, and imagine he shoots those videos like without breaks. He just sits down and record them.
Records them.
He courts them. Thank you. He talks for 6 hours for to with no how
Right?
shots, with no breaks or cuts or anything. So I'm like, if he does that, like if he's able to speak for 6 hours, why shouldn't I be able to listen to 6 hours? But I am, but I need to do some breaks. For example, this video I started last week uh, and I finished today. So it's okay. I think it's about consistency, doing a little bit every day and then.
Yeah.
So about the video, I would like to talk, I would like to present to you like the content of the video sort of, and bring the topic to a discussion and ask you some questions and you can ask me questions and
Should I make some notes?
no, unless you want to. I don't know. We'll have the video. I
Oh,
mean, I mean, it's up to you. But yeah, so the video is called um, "How to Fall in Love with Life," and the reason why Leo Gura decided to record this video or to shoot this video was because he feels like people are very depressed nowadays. They are very nihilistic and cynic and unmotivated, or they just can't find like a life purpose to them.
mm,
So they use a word that I found really interesting that is zest. He says like people
people
have
have.
lost people have lost their zest for life, and I looked it up and it feels like the joy, the wonder that
Sure.
we have when we are children, etc. So he's trying to help us to regain this zest
Okay.
or or construct or build. So
You
yeah.
by finding meaning in life.
Yes, by finding meaning. So he gives us some tips, advices on how to create meaning. And towards
I
the
would
end,
like to
yeah, go ahead.
take notes because now I would like to ask a question later.
Oh, of
So give me a
course.
second to get a
Of
pen.
course, yes.
So I remember. 'Cause I don't wanna- sorry. Please go on. Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with the ending because I want this to be more like practical and not theoretical.
Yeah, sure.
Theoretical. So I want to bring this to my own life, how I see this. So he talks that we should work on health, growth. Sorry?
He
He
says that.
says, thank you. He says we should work on health, growth, learning, execution, and creativity. Those are the things that will help us build meaning in life. And so he says that I'll read a quote. So he says, the most fulfilling aspect of life is who you're going to become by working your ass off to evolve and to grow yourself. Uh, no, there's no punctuation here. Sorry. So, the most fulfilling aspect of life is who you're going to become by working your ass off to evolve and to grow yourself. And the deepest challenges you're gonna have to face, your own deepest inner demons you're going to have to face to actualize your full potential. Sorry, I read that like very
What is the first line again?
the
The
most
great
fulfilling the most
most of them.
fulfilling the most
Mhm.
fulfilling aspect of life is who you're going to become by working on yourself.
Mhm.
So for a long time. And then he says that life is a game and we should play it seriously. um, and um, and another thing that he says before I go into my personal life is that sometimes we wonder, like we are in a particular situation and we wonder, where am I going from here? Like it feels like we reach rock bottom and then we just don't know. And then he says it doesn't matter if you don't know what you need to do, as long as you know that you have to do something, because some people, they don't think that they need to change anything. But yeah, it's not a matter of not knowing what to do. If you know, we have the internet, we have Google, we can search, we can like journal, make lists, or ask someone, and there are some options really.
Right.
But yeah, so my life story, I for years and years and years, decades, I saw myself as the
Decades, sorry, decades is a very strong word because you're not that old. So
I am 32.
it's not old. So you say decades, it's like I get
Decades. Yeah, decades of my life. Yeah, maybe it's a exaggeration. So for years and years and years, I identified as the alcoholic daughter of this small city. And that's and
Were
also,
you an alcoholic?
no, I am the alcoholic daughters.
You're the daughter of an alcoholic?
Yeah.
So if you say you're
Yeah,
the
no, no, no,
alcoholic
no, no,
daughter,
alcoholic. Well, how should I say this? How can I say this?
you identified as the daughter of an alcoholic, of the town alcoholic,
Yeah, because in
city
every small city,
alcoholic.
we
Right.
say here that in every small city you have a church, a priest, and an alcoholic.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, that guy happened to be my father.
He
So
was all of them. He was the church, the priest, and the alcoholic. I'm
no,
kidding.
no, no, it was, and there is also a crazy person. There is the
Oh,
crazy guy also in every city, small city, right? The crazy, the madman of the
okay.
city. Uh, so there are actually other things in that with which I identified.
Hmm.
So I guess I told you the story of that guy who invited me to, no, not the guy, the teacher who put us to dance, and then he went
I am.
my house and he was going to dance with Isadora, and then I
Yes,
I
I remember.
I and then and then it's funny, just a parenthesis here. It's funny because I was in an event where so there is a actual there is a this is a party in Brazil that we call quadrilha. So it happens every June and sometimes in July. So it's a dance that you dance with a pair. And then I was in this party. I didn't know that that was happening there. And then they said, grab someone and come to the dance floor and we are going to improvise a quadrilla. And it all came. It comes like that happened when I was 7. And then I remembered not having like a pair, not having someone to dance
A
and
partner.
a partner. And then it was fast, like when they say grab someone and come. And then I thought that everyone would be chosen, but so I took the hand of the closest person, like,
Mhm.
like very desperate, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
And I mean, nothing would happen if I waited or if I didn't dance or if I just watched them dancing
You're
like
7?
many people. Sorry?
Because you were 7, and it's normal for you not to do anything at 7.
No, 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 no,
7 is
no.
quite
That
young.
happened now. I mean, me
Oh,
being
oh, I
afraid.
thought you were. Ah,
No,
okay, right,
no.
good.
So I am still like so that happened when I was 7. The
Hmm.
guy
So
told
the
me that
guy
he
that, yeah, that told you he was going with another person, that was when you were 7.
yes, I was 7, but even now I was in this spontaneous party where they asked us to grab the person that's the closest person, and I had to do that fast, otherwise I would be without a partner to dance. But and then when I did it, it was very like on the moment, but then when I thought about it, I was like, man, is it still haunting me?
Right.
I'm not going to be chosen.
Chosen.
And that's crazy because why should I care if I'm dancing at this quadrilla in June? Fuck it. Like, I mean, anyway, but going back, I'm sorry, do you have anything to
Well, I
say,
wanted to say,
comment?
like, I just want to say that you don't need to be too hard on yourself. In general, I think a lot of people struggle with the idea of not being chosen. Some people less than others, and a lot of times we say, "Why should I care?" or "What's the big deal if I don't do this?" But in reality, it is a big deal. It's not that the fact that we don't do the dance; it's the fact that nobody wants to do the dance with us,
Yeah.
and it's a tough thing to handle, and I don't think I would take anybody, but my own defense would be just going away and sitting away. But that's
Mm-hmm.
not, that would be like to avoid, and I don't necessarily think I won't be chosen, but I would try to avoid the moment where, like that moment, and probably I would just sit down rather
Mm-hmm.
than put myself in the position where I could get rejected. But I think it's a valid fear that many adults go
Yeah.
through, especially if you've been through relationships and you've been broken up with, or if you've
Yeah.
been just interacted with human beings in general. It's a valid fear.
It
I don't
is.
think you should be
No,
hard on yourself for doing that.
no, I totally get that. But I think we go through life not facing those things. Like, so in the video, he uses a word that I learned. He tackles that problem.
Mhm.
Yeah. So for example, like being the daughter of the alcoholic, like so that was how I identified myself like for years. And I would only see I mean, I still need to make an effort to see the good side of it because I really don't think that there are good sides of being in that position. I don't wish that for anyone, really, to being like in a dysfunctional family, be it like with drugs or like addictions or mental health. Like a dysfunctional family, like marks us, like puts this put a scar like that we have to sooner or later face it. Otherwise, we are going to become maybe dysfunctional if we cannot handle what happened, like deal with what happened. We will like integrate that somehow. So there are not good sides of being this person, like in this situation. But at the same time, when he says that the fulfilling aspect of life is who you're going to become by working your ass off to evolve. I am somewhat great. I cannot say I'm grateful. It was hell, but somewhat like um, I am better because of it. I know that I have uh, compassion, empathy. It's very easy for me to talk to people or to form like bonds, or to put myself in. I'm sometimes I'm too empathetic, too much, that it actually is not good for me. But there are people who have it easy, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's probably a good thing. But people who have life too easy, and I have known those people, they they usually they don't offer me much in terms of depth. Like I cannot connect with them. I cannot have like deep conversation. I'm not saying that everyone who had a life that was easy is like this, probably not, but the ones that I've met, um, they were shallow somehow. And the people that I am friends with, the people that I most admire, are those people who had struggles, maybe not like mine, but some they had to overcome things. And so yeah, in a sense, they had to work their ass off to evolve and to grow. and and that's sorry.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions.
You do. So I'll stop and I'll let you ask your questions. Sorry.
No, I did have like before we get into like the his actual with the quote. First, I'd like to ask about the identity of being like the daughter of an alcoholic. Did other people in your city see you as that? Why did you take up this identity for yourself? Did
Uh,
other people see you as just the daughter of an alcoholic? Was that something that you felt that other people had like put on you? Or why did
yeah.
you like put this up?
No,
Do
yeah,
you
I
know
think
if you
so.
if you
No, I know, no, I know. I was constantly, since I was a child, like not a kid, uh, my mom would tell me, your father is not going to live longer because he's an alcoholic. I remember being 3 and being told that by my mom. And it turns out I'm 32 and my father is still alive. But which is good. I mean, not complaining, it's
is he
good.
still an alcoholic? Is he
Yes,
still an alcoholic?
he is,
No.
he is, yes. Um, unfortunately, sim. Unfortunately, yeah, sorry, this is Portuguese. Yeah, people in the city would, and then, so first it was my mom, we lived in a big city, but then she thought it was safer for him to drink near his family in a small city. So, because he wouldn't stop and he wouldn't go to rehab, or he would, but he would
Oh,
live and
sorry, I was gonna
drink.
say rehab.
Rehab, yeah,
Yeah.
rehab. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, in the city, people would, he would go to my school, for example, and my public school there was opened. They usually were back then. I don't know, at least there. I don't think it is nowadays. So he would go like in the lunch break. He would go to visit me drunk. And he's not the type of alcoholic that you usually imagine, like the people who drinks every day. He's the one that goes insane, that
Mm.
he speaks English even. He makes me think like there is a part, and he has never learned it. My father has never, I mean, he has, he doesn't even have like high school degree. And for
Mm.
me, it's very interesting how, uh, yeah, it makes me wonder what are, if there is this universal language that we can all speak, or if he had learned by listening to me, or, but because he would speak English, he would speak with a different accent, he would imagine himself as a politician, and or he would imagine myself as
Hmm.
uh, he would imagine me as Brazilian's president. So he would go to my school to tell the kids that I was going to be president. And of course, I suffered a lot of bullying because of that, right? So yeah, so people, sometimes my mom would be very tired of dealing with him, and then she would say, go find your father, and I would have to go and find him like fallen, uh, fallen down in a square or in a sidewalk or whatever. So yeah, people, even now, even when I became a lawyer, I remember being in court and he arriving there drunk. And that was already an adult, like
Mm.
defending a client, and then he was there, and so yeah, it was. It's it's great that I can talk about it now without shame or crying.
That was
I
my next
I had
question.
to work my ass off in therapy. I had to do a lot to like overcome this, like and just talk because I was in denial for a long time, like that this is not happening. I remember I would go to school, I would come home, I would find my father drunk and giving speeches because he was always very loud, and I would take sleeping pills. I took sleeping pills for college, so I would arrive by 1 p.m. I would take my sleeping pills, I would sleep until the next day, and then I would go to college, I would come home, sleeping pills. So I wouldn't see what was happening because it was very, very difficult. And yeah, but yeah, so go ahead.
Um, I guess right. Well, my next question was if you did feel shame, but
Yeah.
I would like to know more. If this was the identity that you took up on yourself, how did that influence your character? Who did you become based on just being the alcoholic's daughter? What did that do to your character?
That's a good question. I I guess I'm still figuring this out. I am not sure, but I my I think I now I don't see like my father was being mean. For a long time, I thought it was either my fault, it was because I was not good enough, or it was because he was a bad person.
You're not an
Uh,
only child, I remember, right? You have a
sorry,
brother. You have a brother, right?
I do have a brother, and, and,
And he
and
was there at that time?
that's interesting. We were just talking about that today at lunch, how we had the same childhood, and somehow it didn't affect him as much as it affected me. But I'm the older sister. I was the one who was like the confident, like of my mom. Like she would tell me things and ask for help, and then yeah. So I learned. I think that there are things that are beyond control. So the family or the places that we are born with, I would be very angry at my friends secretly that they didn't have an alcoholic father, but I'm sure they had. I know that they had other problems. So I think things happen randomly, you know. Uh, yeah,
Fair enough. Did you ever ask him why he did it?
I did once. And then I remember that I wanted to do a tattoo with the answer that he gave me. I wrote in my arm. I, I,
On my
I,
arm. On my
I
arm. Sorry.
on my arm, in my arm, on my arm. So one day I called him and
Mhm.
I asked, why did you do it? Why do you do it? Uh, and then he said, it is because I wanted. So I wrote in my arm because I wanted. And then it was, it's so simple. People that they do things because they want to, but there's always an option. Like we can overcome, we can. But something else that I learned in this video is that there are people who had a tendency to become addicts. It
Mhm.
is when they don't have things going on in their lives. And that
And it's
was
not one.
things going on in their lives when they don't have like a higher purpose, when they don't have friends, when they don't have a sense of like community. There are a certain category of people who could develop, not that they will, but they could because of their personal circumstances.
Mhm.
And I think that happened with my father. He's a son. He's a child of an alcoholic mother and father. He's the older brother, he's the older son. That's what he saw or seen.
Right. So if you say that, and if this person has this, it's interesting that we're talking about this today because yesterday I had my discussion club with my friend, and we
Hmm.
had a conversation like leaning more to free will and determinism and like
Hmm.
what people deserve, etc. But I would ask, so if you talk about like, as this man says, some kind of predisposition to this addiction, are you then taking away the responsibility of being an addict from your father? and like blaming it on his surroundings, thereby like
Mm,
removing free will from him and having him not be the like I guess like the cause of his problem, but just transferring responsibility to another situation like his environment or his upbringing of
mm.
his family, etc.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
what
that's a
you
great
think?
question. I wish I knew. I mean,
Or does it make it easier for you to accept him as an alcoholic if
um,
you think that it's not his fault? Sorry, is
it
that a too
is it
personal
is it
question?
is a good question. I don't think it is. I don't think it's. I am in a conflict in my life now because I'm not sure if I believe in free will anymore. I used to.
I'm there as
I
well.
used to believe that we choose, but now I tend to believe, I'm inclined to believe that uh, we don't actually have a choice. So if we could rewind this video, like start this conversation all over again, I would have said everything that I said the way that I said. I wouldn't, I don't
Yeah,
know,
no,
I
that's
would.
the thing. We can't prove it. That's the
Yeah, no,
problem with.
but probably. So we do what we do based on what we know and what we have. Like it is easy. It is somewhat easy to accept that if I take the blame out of his shoulders, but
Off
at the
his.
off his shoulders, if I take the blame off his shoulders, but at the same time, it's difficult because I'm too involved. It's easier to say that about other people, other circumstances, but I was
We
there.
can
I
go
was
on.
there. I try to help him. I send him to clinics and clinics. I spend a lot of money on my father. I was patient. I asked, but I don't know. I think, yeah, he had this
Predisposition.
predisposition,
Mhm.
but I think he could stop. But at the same time, I have some terrible habits. Also, something that made me understand my father and other people is that it's difficult to change your own behaviors. An addict to hamburgers, you know? I swear to you. I swear. I mean, I have a food disorder. I eat when
Eating
I'm
disorder. An
sorry,
eating
an
disorder.
eating disorder. So now I can understand how difficult it is, like to take responsibility. And
Mhm.
if I cannot do this for myself, if that's something that I struggle so much and it would benefit myself, how would I expect my father to not do that for me if I'm not doing it for myself, you know?
Yeah, no, I get you. A little thing about like free will. If you are like going away from the belief of free will, I'm not a believer in free will. I'm more I'm more inclined to believe in determinism. I don't think
Mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm.
Well, I'll explain that. But I was going to say, if you're going away from free will a little bit, how does it then? How do you then reconcile like this man's statements? Because basically, this man's statement is linked to finding meaning in life. How can you find meaning in life that you have no control over?
Yeah.
How can you find a purpose or a goal when basically your every action that you have, not necessarily by some external source or like some higher power, but like every action that you make and every thought and everything that you go towards, it's kind
Mm.
of determined by your environment, your parents, whatever. Even let's use like the addict. If we say the addict is an addict because there's a genetic predisposition as well, you can
Mm-hmm.
genetic. The father
Yeah.
was an addict as well, and then the person becomes an addict, and then you say you have the power to stop being an addict. Let's say the person stops being an addict. Is it that person's decision, or did the person get to a point when they were so sick, or when their child was in so much pain, and whatever outside influenced that decision? So then they just like, if you break down everything, you slowly pull apart your control over a
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
That's why I have a conflict with free will. And also, when we talk about free will, there has to be the fact that it has to be a fact that you could have done otherwise. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're an alcoholic, you have to say like this person could have not been an alcoholic. We
Yeah.
cannot prove that the person could have done otherwise because right now what we see is what the person is doing.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to have that thing. That's why I have a problem with
Yeah.
conversations on finding meaning in like life, because it's
Yeah.
like you have to have a conversation, I think, on how much control you actually have over that life to be able to find meaning in it.
It
I do
is.
things and I ask myself, why do I do things? Why do I wake up in the morning? Because I woke up. If I didn't wake up, I wouldn't have woken up. Right? But that is like the start. And we were talking, and I was like, okay, why do I work? Because I want to get something that would make my living just a little bit more comfortable, right? It would
Yeah.
make me being here just make me happier. Then you have to dissect, like, why do I want to be happier? What are the things that make me believe that I will be happier? And if I dissect it all, I see that I really don't. I may not really have anything. Like, there is no way to really find a point where something inside of me, like, I don't know, some my mind or my whatever you believe is a person, like a soul or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
has made the decision to be happy. It's
Yeah.
it's
I-
difficult to find that
It is.
point.
No, it is. It is. I think there are a deeper level that we could talk about that. And I think what you're saying, it is more in like when you like ultimately that's the thing.
Right.
But so for example, I see that I've seen I'm going oh my God, how can I say this? I've seen your body in a video dancing.
Where?
Yeah,
Where?
dancing. I guess you send me yourself
Oh,
dancing.
my the YouTube thing? All right.
Yeah, and I see you work out, right?
Right.
Why do you
Okay.
work out?
Oh, it's a good question. Why do I work out? I say that I work out because I want to be fit and I want to look good. Why do I want to look good? Because in society, I probably will have an easier life if I look good. And then we can have like an evolutionary discussion on how we decided that it's easier to and it's more beneficial to look good and to like
Mm-hmm.
create your body in a way that would just be, I don't know, that this body is more acceptable in society. And then we can talk about how our culture has evolved to accept
Yeah,
this type of body over this
yeah,
body. And so my decision to look good is not really my decision to look good. It's just what is the
yeah,
thing that I can do. I
yeah.
don't know. What is the definition of good?
In the profound level, yes. But I think I would say that in like in a not that profound level, you work out because somehow there are some endorphin or you feel more um like how can I say like disposal to do your work, to sit down because you did
Uh,
it, like a sense of accomplishment, like a sense of a routine that you that there is something reliable because we as human, I think we need like a routine. Like I do that every day. Sometimes I guess you go twice a day. Did you tell me this or just once a day?
once.
Okay.
I don't have that much time. I don't look bad good. I don't live in the gym. I really don't look that good. I just try to keep myself in check. That's all.
Yeah. So that brings somewhat like a sense of meaning because, for example, I've been depressed, and when you're depressed, there's difficult to establish a routine. You don't wanna go to the gym. You don't have like a time to woke up. You don't have like so. I guess those small things like being healthy, like taking care of your diet, like hitting the gym, having like a job, weekends, or I don't know, relationships, friendships, and those things that like a relationship, like a love relationship, or if you want to, like because a lot of people want to, but they don't know how. Like
Mhm.
developing your skills to get the things you want. I think we should ask ourselves, like, what do I want? So if I would ask myself that, Camila, what do you want from life? Like, what do you want now? I want to lose weight. I want to look attractive. I want to,
I understand. I think we've had this conversation
yeah.
before, but I don't know if you. Well, I can't tell you what to say, but it is. want to say interesting, but the word is interesting, not interesting like a way, but it's interesting like a, oh, you said that way. That when you use the word attractive,
Mm.
uh, do you assign? We've had this conversation before, and I also apologize because I want to
No,
be
but there's nothing
careful.
to apologize for.
Now I want to be careful about what
No,
I
no,
say
no.
when it comes to like weight. It's interesting to assign attractiveness to the weight
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if I think that if that is the case, even after the weight, it's a lot of work to lose weight and also to keep the weight off. Even I gain weight and I lose weight and I gain weight and I lose weight, and it's very detrimental to your mental health when
Mm-hmm.
that is the case because it's difficult to keep off weight even when you lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
and you begin to torture yourself
Yeah.
when you gain weight because that for you is when you look unattractive. I'm sorry, I don't want to say
No,
anything
no,
else.
no. I understand what you say. Yeah, when we identified like that it's how a body should look like, that's a beautiful body. I think yeah, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a bit overweight. It's more like healthy, like related. Like it's just that
Right.
I had some like I did some exams and my
Yeah.
health is terrible.
Mhm.
That's why, and also because I'm learning West Coast swing and I can only dance like one song without being too exhausted
Out
and
of breath. Yeah.
mm,
Out of breath.
out of breath. Yeah. So yeah. So also, if I were to say, I'm not sure that of that anymore, but if I were to say this, like 2 months ago, I wanted a boyfriend, and but I was actually not doing anything to get a boyfriend. So let's talk like more shallow, like
Sure.
because those things that you told that you said, I think they're like the ultimately like and at the end it's like this. I believe in determinism. I do, but there are some things that keeps us sane, like
Right. No, I agree.
so.
I think it's irrelevant to always think that deeply when you do things. Of
Mm,
course, I it's good to find right now. If you ask me why I do a lot of things, I do because it will make my life easier. Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
yes, like in this moment, and yeah, I find reasons to do things, and I do the things that I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
just because they make my life easier. But like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't put that much thought into
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
every action that I do. But with meaning of life and with like finding purpose in things, I don't think it's also relevant in general because then we do this thing where when something good happens, which is not unhealthy, when something good happens, we attribute it to something else. For example, if I get no, I work hard, I
Mm-hmm.
get more money. I say, oh, I've done well. I praise myself for that. But then
Mm.
when something bad happens in my life, what do I do? Am I going to say I deserve that as well?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so but it's not, there's a dissonance there when I say, like, when something good happens, I deserve it. But when something bad happens, I don't deserve it. What about my negative actions in my life in some way?
Mm-hmm.
They lead to my negative, like, occurrences as my positive actions led to my positive occurrences. If I'm a good person and good things happen to me, I would say, oh, because I'm a good person. But when bad things happen to me, does that
Mm-hmm.
make me a bad person also? So I
Yeah.
think because of that, like, well, because we cannot have that thing where it's like when I was in church, I stopped believing in hell, and then I said to myself, if I don't believe in hell, how do I believe in heaven? It's contradictory. It does not make sense. So I stopped believing in heaven as well, and
Yeah.
that's why I think like it's very tricky, or maybe it can be problematic to find meaning in everything that we do or to find like essence in everything that we do
Yeah. What
rather
that
than just
happens.
yeah
Yeah.
rather than just do it, because then
Mm-hmm.
when we have the negative side it can come back to like bite us. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, I do. I do tend to think that bad and evil, bad and good, Yeah, bad and good, even and good, are things that our minds gives value to or
Right.
defines as. So I think things are random. They are neither, they just happen. Like things
Right.
happen. Well,
Right.
they happen because there are people, they are evil. I don't know, but I think they're acting out of ignorance. But so things
Right.
happen, and then you decide to attribute that a value. So for example, like you earned a lot of money and then you say, oh, it is because I'm good. But then the
Right.
economy is bad and then you lose it all. And then it's not your fault. It's just I think it helps like to relieve the burden. Like if we
Right.
just think that things happen and is random and
Yeah.
they are going to happen, and the only choice, like if there is free will at all, is how you're going to feel about the shit that happens.
Yeah,
The shit,
exactly.
you know,
How you,
like,
yeah.
okay, so that happened. Now what? Like expect that things are going to happen. Like
Right.
they're not, everything is always changing. There is no
Right.
constancy, like they're happening. So things are happening as they will. And then you decide to
Right. Because
be
it's good
okay.
to like understand, okay, I worked hard and I got money. But the thing is, when there's something with the economy, like there is right now in the world, and you
Yeah.
stop getting as much money as you were getting before, it's very easy to blame yourself. It's very easy to
No,
say, I'm not doing something. I'm not, but if you just see, it's better to just see it as this happened and it happened to me. But when we start to do give value and start to have like what we deserve or not,
no.
then it's I think it's easy to just have the negative thing on yourself. But about what, so that's why when you said about like his statement about the fulfilling thing about life, the life is fulfilling when we, I don't remember the full statement.
Um, when
Uh,
we work to evolve, to grow ourselves, and the deepest challenges you're going
Right.
to
I have a
face.
problem with finding fulfillment there. I think it's important. I spend a lot of time on myself. I spend a lot of time working on myself. But the thing is that when we think about finding fulfillment from all this work, we also have to consider the things that are not in our control. And
Mm,
as someone who has worked hard and then had a tragedy that changed my life a lot, it is not it's difficult to then find
yeah, I
fulfillment
know, I know,
still in that, yeah, in that thing.
I
So
know.
instead what I'm it's easier for me to just live life like a leaf somehow, and it's not good. I don't think that it's a long
Yeah,
term. I was telling my friend yesterday, I don't think that this is a long term thing, because I like to do goal oriented things, but I also have those moments where I just want to go, I am, and that's all. So I am
but
here, I
that's
am
good
doing
too.
me, and there is like, and that's enough
But it
for.
should be, it should be. I think the fulfillment that we need to find is like not in the goal, like a long-term thing, but in the process. So for example, I'm sure I would find fulfillment when offered a burger and saying no. I wish if I was able to say no to that, I would
You've
find
never said no
fulfilling
to a
like in the
hamburger?
no. I
You've
wouldn't
never
have,
said no to a
of
hamburger?
course not. How could I? I mean,
You
oh,
shouldn't say it online. People will know how to kill you.
yeah, no, a pizza or whatever. Um, so it is in the moment that you take the decision, because sometimes we think like, okay, so it is good to be goal oriented. Like when that happened, when I reached that, but I think the process of becoming better is
Mhm.
good. So for example, something that I always wanted for myself is to be like an intellectual person. Like I value
Right.
that so much, but I
Yeah.
do nowadays I don't do much to change like what I'm not like. I should read more. So the fulfillment is like would be like reading a book, like even if it was 30 minutes every day for 30 days straight
Straight.
straight, yeah, straight, yeah.
Yeah.
So that constancy, like you go to the gym, I bet you go every day, like maybe
Well, now I
not
work
Sunday.
out at home.
You
Now I work.
do? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
On Sunday I play tennis. It's really fulfilling.
Yeah, you know, but yeah,
Okay,
the thing
I like that.
in itself,
Yeah, no,
it,
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
but
but
if I may, I would like to digress a little because I really want to ask this question.
of
When you were
course.
talking about like meeting people who have not had so much struggles and not finding them to have as much depth as you would like from a person, I have two questions.
Mm.
First, do you think that you would have been different if you had, and forgive my phrasing of this question because it might
Of
seem bad,
course.
if you had like a more healthy emotional life,
Mm.
that's one. And like with like in your childhood, I mean, with regards to your father. And
Mm-hmm.
secondly, do you think that you are asking too much of people with regards to depth? If you're, when you say people are shallow,
Oh.
you can grade that yourself, but do you think that what you expect from people when you talk to them? Because I consider that I did that. I used to do that before. I used to
Mm.
have conversations with people, and sometimes they were just very like on the surface, and I'd go like, "Oh my God, who is this person?" And then I had to ask myself, "What do you expect from people?
Yeah.
Why putting too much on people when you
Yeah.
talk to them or when you meet them?" So
Of course, maybe they are not like what they show us. It's just that we don't know them well enough. There are people who are not going to open up like in the first day, like I will.
do they have to at some
They,
point? That's my question. Do they
mm,
have to at some point?
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, do you allow people to really just be like people without this like depth, or this like depth that can come from pain or from struggle? Are people allowed in your mind to just not have that?
Um, they are allowed to, but I mean, I'm generally speaking, I'm just not. Of course, it depends from person to person. I'm being judgmental. There are some prejudices here too. So um, I, if I had had a different life, like if my father was not an alcoholic, I think for just being born in Brazil, I would still have the same death because,
I can relate to you as a Nigerian.
yeah, I would still
The
be deep.
country does this too. The country does
Yeah,
this too, and just wrings out everything from you. It's, I mean,
I would still be, but
yeah.
um but yeah, sometimes I learn not to expect. For example, I'm a teacher, right? You are a teacher too. I don't expect that all of my students will have deep conversations with me. In the beginning, I would try to force them to, but
Right.
then
And
I don't anymore. I just allow them to. I even send them a questionnaire. I remember being in a class with a Chinese student, and I was trying to teach her vocabulary related to family, and she told me that she doesn't talk to her family, and family is a like a big no topic, and she would rather not talk about that. And
right.
and and then I now ask students, I send a questionnaire, are there any topics you don't feel comfortable talking? Because, and then they write, and then I'm like, okay, so I'm not, because I'm open to everything. And I just don't want to be noisy and ask them personal and
Nosy, nosy.
nosy. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe a more harsh question. Um, when you speak with someone who has had a pretty much normal and positive emotional life and good upbringing and didn't have any struggles at all, and you don't enjoy the conversation because you don't feel they have depth, do you feel, this is quite harsh and
Hmm.
forgive, do you
It's okay.
feel that there is a part of you that is envious about
Ooh.
that normal like experience, that positive experience
Mm-hmm.
that makes you not enjoy this conversation with them or not enjoy their surface level because you feel, why don't you have pain as much as I do as well?
That's a great question. Even deep down in my head, I'm not sure, I don't know, I've never thought of it, but
Mm.
something that I know that I don't sort of tolerate, it's when people who have privileges are not are not aware of their privileges. And
Privilege. This
privilege
people with privilege are not aware of their
when
privilege.
they are not aware. If they are
Mhm.
not aware, that for me, like if they just go through life thinking that everyone are in the same like
Running.
race,
Mhm.
they run like they started the run at the same point, because there are people like that that
Yeah, of
they
course. But this
that
is
they
the thing about most privileged people is being privileged means that your eyes are basically shut from injustice, and
Mhm.
you really may not see that they have privilege. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but I would say that I'm a more forgiving person in that term, in
You
terms of
are.
that, because I've not had a very privileged life, and I see people and I have friends who have had what I consider, and they don't consider it privilege because for them it's probably they had a normal life.
Yeah.
And I think that I've been more forgiving towards them. But I asked the question about being envious because I've caught myself in that situation before.
Really? How?
I've spoken to someone and we're talking about something, and I realize the person doesn't have empathy, and not because the person is just like a bad person, but because the person really cannot relate to whatever situation it is that was really bad. And I caught myself thinking, how dare you have like a better life than me and not understand what another
Oh,
person is going through in this situation. And then I just stopped myself and I had to think like, what am I doing? People have different experiences, and uh, just this experience is different. But I noticed that at some point, I was really angry at people who were having like normal experiences and positive experiences when I was trying to deal with like emotional baggage and just like
yeah.
for example, a thing that I was, and I'm sorry for taking your time.
No, no,
uh,
no.
I,
It's okay. It's your time.
I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in church, and after leaving church I had like this huge moment of not knowing like what to do with my life. And during those that time I was not, I don't know, I felt envious of people who never had this thing where they had to like reprogram their life, find a way to re-identify, find another purpose, so to speak, find another like reason for
Mhm.
being on this planet, because they just never had that
Mhm.
switch thing. And when I would speak
Mhm.
to people and they couldn't understand what was going on in my head, I was upset because I thought, how dare you? You know,
Yeah.
how dare you have a better life, an easier life?
Yeah.
And I realized that when I was expecting more from people, when I was expecting people to tell me experiences and tell me things that they've gone through and tell me their pain, that was why. I was just angry that I was angry that they didn't tell me, because I was angry that they didn't have pain. I just had to kind of
That.
correct that thought in my mind. That's why I asked
Yeah.
that
No, but
question.
yeah, but you know what, Daniel? I think you are stronger because you overcame that. You had to do it on your own somehow, or else you doing. So I bet that other situations will come your way. And now I know you're facing your country now, the place you are
Right.
facing like terrible things. I think you are more resilient than
Oh,
the average, than most people, because you have lived experiences that they haven't. And I'm sure that things will happen to you in the future, because life throw things at us. Things happen, they happen. And I think you will find you'll be shaken, but you find your way like to a
yeah, you have
balanced faster.
to. Yeah, you have to. Exactly.
And other people, I think, yeah, people have a life. Most people, not most people, some are lucky enough not to have problems, but I think that they are less prepared. They are weak. They will have to face at some
Oh, yeah,
point,
that's true.
and it will be difficult. And because life is a
Yeah, life
mess.
is like, yeah, it's a
It's chaos. We are leading towards death, and in our deathbed, I don't know things. I don't know. We just need to face things eventually. So
right now.
we are
Yeah.
stronger. Let's think that a
I
bit
hope so.
more.
I hope so.
Yeah. So
I
yeah. So sorry we went over
no,
time.
no, yeah, I had the question,
No,
so
but
it's
I
fine.
loved your questions. Yes. And I had so many questions for you that I didn't get the chance to
Oh,
ask
why not?
because I was talking too much. But I'll ask one before you go if you're
Okay,
okay.
sure, no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, like, yeah.
So right now, uh right now, if are there things you want? Are there things that you would want for yourself that you could change, or you could like give some steps in the direction of? I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. There are things in my life that I can, well, I can change, or I can be part of this, like, I guess, be part of their development. And I am doing those things. I
You are.
have things I want, but there are bigger things that I want that are, and this is why I said, like, I'm in this moment where I'm like a leaf. There are bigger things that I want, that things that I had or almost had, that were like just thrown out of, like when I was thrown out of balance, they just kind of were distorted. And right now I don't really have the ability to have them, but there are things that I am actively, so in this time now, I just have this mindset to make my life easier, and that's what I want,
Hmm.
to make my life easier. And so I do things to make my life easier. I
Such
do
as? Would you
no
tell me? What do
work.
you work?
Yeah, I'm kidding. I enjoy my life these days. I mean, I hang out with my friends. It's not very easy these days, but I do hang out with people. I want stronger connections with people. I
Hmm.
said to, and I've been working on developing those connections and making stronger connections with people. I've been doing more of my music, and
Mm.
doing more talking and reading, and with my friend, just like to develop, like, uh, my, like, philosophical thinking.
Hmm.
Those are things that make me happier. Those are things that make life
Hmm.
easier to me, especially the thinking, because I don't. A big thing for me is not torturing myself when things happen, and that's
Yeah.
like making life easier for me. So I do have things. I know in major part, I just, in the trajectory of my life has led me to see that I'm very active in how my life goes, but just the trajectory of my life. I was telling my friend when I came back to the city here, I said that, if I was so depressed when this started, and I said to myself, like, if one more bad thing happens to me when I feel like I am happy, I don't know if I can handle it, but I can. I know I
You
can handle
can.
it.
You
I
can.
know that I can take it, but uh, I know that I can handle it. So I just have had a life where I've learned that, I can do a lot of things, but life still happens, and the next thing for me is really just planning around that life as much as I
Yeah.
can, or moving on, rather than just like staying stuck. So I do move on, I do continue my life, but I just understand more that life happens.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. But I'm good.
Yeah. So I think we should consider life like this video game that we are
Mhm.
playing seriously, and there is no point to it. Like, does
Right.
that make sense? There's no
Right. No,
point to it, and we are
I was,
playing, and
you know,
we need to play it
I told my
seriously.
friend, I told my friend when we discussed the meaning, we've been discussing meaning of life for as a series, so to speak, for now, and he doesn't get this, but I've told him that for me right now, the purpose is existing,
Hmm.
and it may not be the same in the future. I may analyze more. I may try to, like, figure out more things and have a different goal. But it's not necessarily, definitely my goal is not about afterlife. But right now, if you
Yeah.
ask me about my purpose, and it's existing.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes, thank you. Thank you for answering
Thank
my
you very
question.
much.
Thank you for your
I'm happy.
questions, and thank you for joining me in this project. And wish you a good weekend. And I can't wait to see you again next time.
See you next time. Yes. Have a nice
Thank you,
weekend. Then.
Daniel. Bye bye.
Bye.